The stonehorn oryx looked me directly in the eyes and said, inside my head, "If you make me kneel, I am going to fall on my face." That was inconvenient, because 300 disciples of the Red Dune Beast Sect were watching me fail my final examination. "Command it," Elder Cavi said. I swallowed. The young oryx stood in the center of the training ring with a bronze control collar around its neck. Gray plates covered its shoulders. Two short stone horns curved above frightened black eyes. Everyone else saw a stubborn beast. I could hear it trying not to cry. "My back leg hurts," it told me. "The one on the left, I cannot bend it properly." The examiner raised 2 fingers. "Apply more pressure, Timo." I was 19 years old, a level 3 beast tamer, and officially the least promising senior disciple Red Dune had produced that season. My heaven script floated at the edge of my vision. Name: Timo Shikongo. Class: Beast Tamer. Level 3. Primary skill: True Voice Level 1. Bond slots: 1. The sect considered True Voice a joke. I could mentally speak with fantastical beasts. That sounded impressive until people discovered what beasts actually wanted to discuss. Food, itches, weather, territorial complaints, other beasts, humans who smelled strange, more food, and apparently orthopedic injuries. I lowered my hand. I am not forcing him down. The training courtyard went quiet. Elder Cavi stared at me from beneath the shadow of his red headcloth. "The beast has refused a direct command. He is injured." The healers cleared him. "They missed something." Cavi's eyes hardened. He was not a stupid man. That would have made my life easier. He had survived 3 beast tides and 1 drought war. Half the elders in our region had studied under him. He believed civilization existed because humans imposed order on creatures powerful enough to crush houses. To him, hesitation was not kindness. It was negligence. "Apply domination pressure," he said. The bronze collar around the stonehorn's neck glowed. The animal shuddered. "Please," it whispered inside my mind. That decided it. I stepped backward. "No." Someone in the observation stands laughed. Cavi didn't. "You understand that refusal means automatic failure." "Yes." "Then demonstrate the command." "No." The collar dimmed. Cavi studied me for several long seconds. Then he made a small cutting gesture. "Failed." Just like that. 6 years of training ended with one word. A junior disciple beside the record table tried very hard not to look at me. Someone farther back muttered, "He speaks to beasts but cannot control one." That produced more laughter. The stonehorn looked at me. "Am I allowed to leave?" "Probably not. You humans have many strange ceremonies." "You have no idea." Cavi heard only my silence. "You confuse sympathy with understanding," he said. I wanted to argue. That was one of my problems. I often wanted to argue. Instead, I watched 2 handlers lead the stonehorn away. It limped on the left rear leg. Cavi saw it. His expression changed for perhaps half a breath. Then it became unreadable again. "Report to the discard yard before sunset." I blinked. The laughter stopped. The discard yard was where Red Dune kept beasts that no longer justified the cost of feeding them. Old ones, injured ones, temperamental ones, failed bloodlines, beasts that refused contracts. It was where careers went to die before the animals did. "My apprenticeship is suspended." Cavi stood. "You will work under Keeper Selma until the monthly review. Perhaps caring for animals you cannot command will teach you why command exists." He turned away. I should have been angry. Mostly I felt hollow. Then my heaven script flickered. That had never happened before. A new line appeared. Unrecognized interaction detected. Beast consent prioritized over domination. Alternative class condition partially satisfied. I stared. The letters vanished. I actually rubbed my eyes. Nothing returned. For 6 years, my heaven script had been the most boring interface imaginable. Now it had produced a message I had never heard mentioned in any manual. That was how I left the examination courtyard with my career ruined, my reputation flattened, and the first clue that everyone in Red Dune might understand beast-taming incorrectly. The discard yard sat against the western wall of the sect compound. It smelled like hot stone, dry grass, medicinal resin, and several animals that objected strongly to the concept of sanitation. Selma met me at the gate. She was 21, broad-shouldered, practical, and one of the few beast healers who had never laughed at my class. She looked at my examination sash, then at my face. "You refused." "Yes." "Was the animal injured?" "Yes." "Did anyone believe you?" "No." She nodded. "That sounds about right." Selma gave me a feeding bucket. "Congratulations. You have been promoted from disappointing disciple to assistant dung expert. I trained 6 years for this." "Then you should be extremely qualified." That was Selma. She could make sympathy sound insulting enough that I didn't know how to resent it. We walked between sun-baked enclosures. I recognized several animals. A half-blind ember tortoise, 2 thorncats, an elderly sand crane with 1 bent wing, a massive gray stonehorn lying under an acacia shade frame. Then something yellow shot from beneath a water trough and stole the dried meat from my bucket. "Hey!" The creature stopped 10 paces away. A young dune jackal. Thin legs, huge ears, dusty gold fur. He chewed while staring at me. "That is Kiri," Selma said. "Why isn't he contracted?" "He has been." Kiri swallowed. 3 times. Selma continued. 3 different disciples returned him. "He bites." "No." "Runs away." "No." "Attacks other beasts." "No." Kiri's ears tilted. "He ignores every command." I looked at him. Kiri looked at me. Then inside my mind I heard, "I understand every command." I froze. Kiri sat down. "I just don't like being told what to do." For the first time that day, I laughed. And that was the moment my ruined career actually began. Kiri denied stealing my meat. This was impressive because he was still chewing it. "I found it," he told me. "You found it inside my bucket." "Yes." "That is called stealing." "That sounds like a human distinction." "You ran away after taking it." "I wanted privacy." Selma watched me argue with a jackal for nearly a minute. Finally she said, "I know you can speak with them, but watching you do it still makes you look unwell." "He says he found the meat." "He stole it." "I know." Kiri stared at her. "She is judgmental." "She feeds you." I contain contradictions. Over the next 3 days, I learned something I should probably have discovered earlier. Beasts were not automatically wise just because humans could not understand them. Some were intelligent. Some were thoughtful. Some were spectacular idiots. The ember tortoise believed the sun personally followed him. One thorncat considered every object on the property part of her territory. The sand crane had memorized the feeding schedule better than Selma. And Kiri spent half his waking life telling me he had not eaten recently. You ate 20 minutes ago. That was previous Kiri. What? I am current Kiri. Selma nearly dropped a medicine jar when I translated that. Despite the jokes, the discard yard frightened me. There were 43 beasts there. According to the Red Tally board beside Selma's office, Red Dune could afford to keep 17. Drought had reduced the sect's spirit grain harvest for 2 consecutive seasons. Beast feed costs had doubled. Elder Cavi intended to clear the yard at the monthly resource review. That meant selling useful animals, releasing harmless ones, and transferring anything considered dangerous to hunters. Sorrow was on the list. Sorrow was an old cloud vulture with dark silver feathers and a wingspan wider than a wagon. He had belonged to my father. My father died when I was 12 during a flash flood in the northern drylands. Sorrow survived. The bird had been at Red Dune longer than I had. His cultivation had stalled years ago, and one wing no longer extended completely. To the sect, he was an elderly spirit-rank beast consuming resources. To me, he was the last living creature that remembered my father's voice. When I approached his enclosure, Sorrow opened one pale eye. Timo. He had always pronounced my name mentally in the exact tone my father used when I had done something foolish. Hello, old bird. You smell disappointed. I failed my examination. You often fail examinations. That is not comforting. Your father failed more. I stopped. What? Sorrow settled his feathers. He told you otherwise. I stared at him. The old traitor. For years my father had described his early Red Dune days as if the elders had immediately recognized hidden greatness. How many? 7. I laughed so hard Selma came outside to check whether something had bitten me. The next morning, I examined Kiri's status through my heaven script. That part of true voice had always been useful. Species Dune Jackal. Level 4. Condition healthy. Potential low. Recommended path Desert Jackal. Nothing surprising. Then Kiri said, the hot feeling is worse. What hot feeling? The one inside my chest. Selma looked up from grinding herbs. Ask where. I crouched. Kiri touched his chest with his nose. It happens at sunrise, and when I run on hot stone, and when I smell red salt. My heaven script flickered. Instinctive evolution condition detected. I stopped breathing. The line disappeared. Selma. What? Do beasts behave strangely before evolving? All the time. What kind of strange? She shrugged. Restless, hungry, aggressive, depends on the species. Do people ask them what they want? Selma stared at me. Timo. Yes. We cannot ask them. Right. I spent the afternoon in the archive. Every recognized Dune Jackal evolution formula used the same approach. Spirit meat. Moon grass. Predator training. Night cultivation. The resulting desert jackal was larger, stronger, and usually reached level 10. But Kiri hated moon grass. He preferred dawn. He wanted heat. And red mineral salt. I had no idea whether instinct meant anything. Still, my career was already ruined. There are advantages to having very little left to damage. Before sunrise the next day, I took Kiri to a black rock ridge behind the sect. Selma came because she did not trust me. I trust you, she corrected. You just said. I do not trust Kiri. Correct, Kiri said. We brought a handful of red salt scraped from old mineral deposits. Kiri ate it. Then sneezed. Nothing happened. We waited. Still nothing. Selma folded her arms. Revolutionary. Give him time. I am considering writing a medical paper. Kiri glared at both of us. Then the sun touched the ridge. Heat spread across the black stone. Kiri stiffened. Golden light appeared beneath his fur. I saw his heaven script information chain, so quickly I could barely read it. Evolution condition met. Unknown bloodline responding. Kiri yelped, then doubled in size. Not slowly. One moment he was a thin, badly behaved scavenger. The next, sunlight flowed along his legs like liquid fire. His coat deepened from dusty yellow to rich gold. A white line appeared from his nose to his tail. Heat rippled around his paws. The rock beneath him did not burn. It softened. Selma whispered, "That is not a desert jackal." My interface exploded with notifications. Dune Jackal has evolved. New species, Sunstep Jackal. Rare evolution recorded. Beast has reached level 12. Then one more message appeared. Mutual bond available. I stared at Kiri. He stared back. You feel strange, he said. So do you. A translucent prompt appeared. Establish mutual bond. Requirement, willing consent from both parties. I almost accepted immediately. Then stopped. Kiri. Yes. My interface says we can form a different kind of contract. He said. Does it make you my owner? I don't think so. Does it make me your owner? Selma coughed. I hope not. I read the details. Shared growth. Emotional resonance. Partial sensory exchange. No compulsory command function. Either side could refuse a directive without contract punishment. It was nothing like Red Dune's standard dominance contract. What happens if you say no? I asked. Kiri scratched his ear. Nothing. Probably. He thought about that. Do I get more meat? No. Then what are the benefits? I explained. Kiri listened. Then he asked the question that mattered. If you become stupid, can I leave? Yes. Good. The prompt changed. Consent confirmed. I accepted. Something warm connected us. Not a chain. A doorway. For one overwhelming second I smelled through Kiri's nose, heard through his ears, felt 4 paws gripping hot stone, and experienced the universe through a creature who considered scent more trustworthy than sight. Then the connection stabilized. My heaven script changed. Class evolution available. Beast Tamer right arrow conquered Tamer. Except, I did. Pain flashed through every muscle. Then vanished. My level rose from 3 to 7. A new skill appeared. Echo trait heat step. I took 1 step and accidentally crossed 15 meters. Selma stared at me from the other end of the ridge. Kiri barked mentally with laughter. I looked down at my feet. That was when I understood the first terrifying part. Kiri had evolved, and somehow part of his evolution had become mine. For the next 11 days, I stopped thinking like a beast tamer. I started thinking like a translator. That distinction changed everything. Red Dune taught us to examine beasts from the outside. Weight, core density, element, bloodline, aggression, combat response, diet. A beast was a collection of measurable traits. True voice gave me the missing half. What did the beast feel? What did it crave? What frightened it? What recurring dreams did it have? What place made its cultivation easier? What behavior came naturally before advancement? Once I began asking those questions, the discard yard stopped looking like a collection of failures. It looked like a room full of unfinished instructions. Tamba was the first major example. He was a huge stonehorn oryx with cracked gray shoulder plates and a cultivation core that healers described as unstable. He spent every evening walking against the northern fence. Back and forth. Back and forth. For years. Why, I asked him. North. That is not an explanation. Need north. What is north? North. I looked at Selma. He is not conversational. Tamba has always been like that. I asked again. Why north? This time he lowered his head. Ground pulls. That interested me. The next evening, I opened his enclosure. Selma grabbed my arm. You are not taking a 2-ton, unstable stonehorn outside. Yes. No. Tamba says he needs north. Tamba also tried to eat a clay lamp last winter. It smelled mineral-rich, Tamba informed me. I translated. Selma closed her eyes. Eventually she came with us because, as she explained, someone responsible needed to identify my remains. Tamba walked north, past the training compounds, past the herb terraces, past the outer wall. We followed him into dry thorn country. For 4 hours. Then 6. By sunset, I was regretting every decision I had ever made. Kiri kept disappearing and returning. Food. No. Food now. No. Food now. You are hunting. That sounds exhausting. Tamba suddenly stopped. He stamped one hoof. The ground answered. A deep vibration rolled beneath us. My heaven script flickered. Ancient earth current detected. Tamba inhaled. Then began running. I had never seen him run. He moved like a landslide. Gray plates along his body brightened one after another. The earth beneath his hooves pulsed. Selma shouted, Timo. I activated heat step and followed. Kiri raced beside me. For the next 20 minutes, Tamba ran along a buried path no human eye could see. Then his unstable core opened. Not broke. Opened. The entire landscape shook. Stone streamed upward around him, forming new armor. His horns lengthened. His body became taller, heavier, almost monumental. My interface flashed. Stonehorn Oryx evolution initiated. Unknown route. Then, new species, Dunehart Oryx. Level 29. Ancient migratory condition restored. Selma simply sat down. I understood. Red Dune had been breeding stonehorns inside enclosures for generations. Their natural evolution required traveling across several linked Earth currents. We had removed the migration and then spent centuries wondering why their bloodlines weakened. Tamba accepted a mutual bond that evening. He was less interested in the philosophy than Kiri. Together strong, he asked. Yes. Walk north. Sometimes. Good. The bond formed. My level jumped from 9 to 18. My bones felt heavier. Stronger. Echo trait acquired, Dunehart frame. Then Kiri suddenly became stronger too. His level rose from 15 to 21. I stared. So did Selma. What happened? I opened the bond details. That was when I discovered resonance. Ordinary contracts divided a tamer's spiritual support. More beasts meant thinner energy. Mutual bonds did something different. When one bonded creature improved, part of that improvement flowed through the network. Tamba strengthened me. Through me, Kiri received some of Tamba's growth. Kiri's growth flowed back through me into Tamba. It was not infinite. Energy was still required. But growth was compounding. I added one strong bond and received more than one beast's worth of benefit. My hands started shaking. Not from fear. From excitement. That was another flaw of mine. When I discovered something impossible, caution tended to become a problem for future Timo. Present Timo wanted to see what happened next. Selma noticed. No, I haven't said anything. You have the face. What face? The one you made before giving Kiri mineral salt. Kiri raised his head. I liked that experiment. You sneezed fire into my sleeve. That was also good. Within another week, 3 more discard yard beasts revealed unusual conditions. A sand crane with a damaged wing needed high-altitude cold air to molt properly. A thorncat everyone considered undersized had been prevented from burrowing, even though her species condensed shadow energy underground. An elderly ember tortoise had spent 40 years being kept away from open flame because handlers assumed he was heat-sensitive. He was furious when I explained that. I have been cold, he said. For 40 years. Yes. Why didn't you stand near the cooking fires? They shouted. His evolution produced a shell hot enough to boil water. I did not bond every beast. That mattered. Mutual bonds required genuine compatibility. Some animals liked me but wanted independence. Some thought Kiri was unbearable. One thorncat told me very clearly, "You are acceptable. I do not wish to share my thoughts with you during sleep." Fair. But 5 bonds were enough. My class changed again. Concord Tamer right, Arrow Minibond Tamer. My level crossed 30. That was when the sect noticed. A level 30 disciple at 19 was not impossible. A failed level 3 disciple reaching it in 19 days was. Cavi summoned me to the Beast Command Hall. He sat beneath carved horn trophies, representing generations of Red Dune victories. 2 senior handlers stood beside him. I felt their domination pressure before they spoke. It used to make breathing difficult. Now it felt like warm wind. Cavi noticed that too. His eyes narrowed. You have altered the discard yard beasts. Helped them evolve. 5 recorded evolutions. 6. The ember tortoise advanced this morning. One handler made a disbelieving sound. Cavi ignored him. What method? I listened. Timo. I am serious. He leaned forward. Spirit resources. Some. Forbidden pills. No. Bloodline stimulant. No. External inheritance. No. His gaze moved to Kiri, who sat beside me. Everyone in Red Dune now knew the golden jackal. What is that creature? Hungry, Kiri answered. I almost smiled. Cavi said, the sect owns every beast housed in the discard yard. There it was. I had known it would come. Technically, yes. Technically, the beasts may disagree. A handler laughed. Cavi did not. You have 30 days of temporary responsibility. That does not grant private ownership. Effective tomorrow, the evolved beasts will be reassigned to senior disciples capable of using their strength properly. My stomach tightened. Ask them first. That is not how sect contracts work. It is how mine do. Cavi stood. For the first time, irritation entered his voice. You have stumbled onto something useful and mistaken discovery for wisdom. Maybe he was right about part of that. I had been advancing so quickly that I had started assuming every new result proved me correct. Still, I knew my beasts. If you reassign them, I said, they will refuse. Beasts do not refuse a properly formed domination contract. Kiri's ears lifted. I looked directly at Kavi. You may want to test that assumption before saying it in front of everyone. That was probably more dramatic than necessary. But I was 19. I had just gone from sect embarrassment to level 32. I can admit now that I enjoyed the moment. Kavi's answer was simple. Tomorrow noon, reassignment courtyard. Then he dismissed me. Outside, Selma was waiting. What happened? Kavi is taking the evolved beasts. She went still. Can he? By sect law, yes. And your bonds? They cannot be transferred. So what are you going to do? I looked at Kiri. Kiri looked at me. Then he mentally asked, are there snacks at this reassignment? I smiled. Exactly what I was told. At noon the next day, Elder Kavi assembled enough people to make my humiliation educational. That was my interpretation. His interpretation was probably transparency. The reassignment courtyard contained 7 contract platforms. Senior disciples stood ready. 3 elders observed. The Beast Command Hall's instructors occupied the shaded gallery. And because Red Dune had the communication habits of a village despite containing nearly 4,000 people, half the sect seemed to know something interesting was happening. Kiri walked beside me. Tamba followed. Sina, the sand crane, glided overhead. Old Morrow, the ember tortoise, had to be transported on a stone sled because he considered speed a personal insult. My instructions were simple. Deliver the beasts. Do not interfere. So I delivered them. The first disciple selected Kiri. He was a level 41 beast tamer named Nalo, famous for controlling 2 war hyenas simultaneously. He stepped onto the platform. Kiri sat opposite him. Nalo activated the contract seal. Red light formed around his fingers. Submit. Kiri scratched his ear. The seal touched him. Then shattered. Silence. Nalo blinked. He tried again. The second seal lasted longer. Kiri yawned. It shattered too. A message appeared on the public contract stone. Contract rejected. People murmured. Nalo stared at me. What did you do? Nothing. Kiri, I asked mentally, did you do anything? I rejected it. Why? I don't like him. I looked at Nalo. He doesn't like you. The courtyard laughed. Nalo did not appreciate that. Kavi stepped down from the gallery. Used domination pressure. Nalo's aura expanded. Kiri's fur moved slightly. My jaw tightened. Through our mutual bond, I felt the pressure too. I also felt Kiri's annoyance. Not fear. Annoyance. Then something new appeared in my interface. Bonded companion subjected to compulsory domination. Defensive resonance available. I activated it. Tamba's strength entered Kiri. Sina's perception entered him. Morrow's elemental resistance entered him. And a portion of my own level, 32 cultivation flowed back. Kiri stood. Golden heat rolled from his body. Nalo's pressure broke. Not weakened. Broke. The senior disciple staggered backward. Kiri mentally said, that was rude. The courtyard stopped laughing. Kavi stared at the contract stone. A line had appeared that none of us had seen before. Bond consent denied. One elder whispered, what is bond consent? That question changed Red Dune more than anything I said afterward. Because once people knew the field existed, they started checking their own contract interfaces. Most had never noticed it. Dominance contracts did not require consent. They suppressed the field until it became irrelevant. Kavi tried to restore order. Tamba, the next disciple, attempted a contract. Denied. Sina. Denied. Maro. Denied. Every bonded beast refused. Then something unexpected happened. One of the beasts I had not bonded refused too. A thorncat. Then another. A scarred desert boar. Then sorrow. The old cloud vulture simply spread his enormous wings and said to me, "About time humans learned to ask." The reassignment ended early. Kavi did not shout. I respected him for that. He ordered everyone dismissed and called an emergency elder session. By sunset, rumors were everywhere. By morning, 12 disciples had asked their beasts whether they actually wanted their contracts. That caused arguments. A lot of arguments. One fire lizard apparently wanted more sun exposure. 3 war hyenas objected to their feeding rotation. A sky antelope hated its saddle. One senior disciple discovered his thunder bird liked him, but despised his singing. True voice was still unique to me, but people started observing differently. Selma became more important than I did for several days, because she knew how to read animal behavior without magic. Kavi hated the disorder. He was also smart enough to realize something genuine was happening. That made him dangerous in a different way. Instead of trying to crush me, he adapted. He ordered controlled trials. He gave me access to 20 stalled beasts under supervision. He demanded records, measurements, resource costs, evolution rates, failure rates. For the first time, I began respecting his caution. For the first time, he began respecting my results. We still disagreed about almost everything. But disagreement became useful. My own growth became ridiculous. Every successful evolution strengthened the resonance network. Level 40 came and went. Then 50. My body changed. Not visibly at first. I simply stopped getting tired. Then I realized I could run beside Kiri for an hour. Tamba's dunny heart frame made my bones dense enough that a training hammer broke against my forearm. Sina's evolved spatial perception gave me an awareness of movement behind me. Maro's heat resistance let me hold glowing stones. My class advanced. Minibond Tamer right arrow herd speaker. I gained shared sense. Then many minds. Our battles stopped looking like ordinary beast-taming. Traditional handlers issued commands. I didn't need to. If I noticed danger, Kiri felt my attention shift. Sina saw it from above. Tamba repositioned before I asked. Maro protected the weak point. No shouting. No gestures. No delay. We became faster than separate minds should have been. At level 63, I sparred against Instructor Jarrow, one of Red Dune's best combat tamers. He had terrified me since I was 13. He used 4 contracted beasts. A storm hawk. 2 iron dogs. A plated dune bear. The match lasted 47 seconds. I never attacked Jarrow. We simply redirected every beast he sent. Kiri pulled the iron dogs wide. Sina forced the hawk upward. Tamba blocked the bear. Maro heated the sand until the remaining path became unusable. Jarrow stood in the center with nothing left to command. Then his own storm hawk landed beside me. It was not betraying him. It was tired. It told me so. Jarrow looked at the bird. Then at me. You could have ended this sooner. Yes. Why didn't you? Because your hawk asked for a break. Jarrow stared for a moment, then laughed. Not mockingly, genuinely. That was the first time an instructor bowed to me. The old hierarchy began collapsing after that. Not politically, practically. At level 70, senior disciples were no longer meaningful opponents. At level 80, most instructors could not suppress my aura. At level 91, I entered the legendary Spirit Crown realm. Red Dune had 3 living elders at that stage. I was 19 years old. Kavi summoned me again. This time, he did not sit above me. We met in the open courtyard. You have exceeded the sect curriculum, he said. That sounds like a nicer version of expulsion. It may become one. I laughed. He didn't. Then he released his full suppression aura. The courtyard stones cracked. 6 months earlier, that pressure would have dropped me to my knees. I barely felt it. Kiri looked up from chewing dried meat. Was something supposed to happen? I covered my mouth. Kavi saw. What did he say? Nothing respectful. For the first time, Elder Kavi smiled. A small, unwilling smile. Then every beast in Red Dune began screaming. Not aloud. Inside my head. 43 bonded or familiar minds. Then hundreds beyond the sect walls. Wild antelope. Burrowing lizards. Carrion birds. Predators. All sending the same feeling. Fear. I turned west. Beyond the distant Etosha Salt Basin, something enormous had entered our world of assumptions. A white shape rose above the horizon, and Sorrow whispered one word. Guardian. The white dune titan was taller than Red Dune's central tower. That was the measurement everyone used, because human beings are very committed to comparing impossible things with buildings. It walked on 6 legs. Its body looked like a mixture of elephant, lizard, and living sandstone. White mineral plates covered its back. Each step sent pale dust into the sky. The sect's oldest records called creatures like it regional calamities. There were stories of one destroying 3 settlements 200 years earlier. Red Dune mobilized everything. Every elder. Every combat disciple. Every war beast. Every defensive formation. I stood on the western wall with Kavi. He looked composed. I could feel the fear coming from the beasts around us. Not fear of the Titan. Fear of being ordered toward it. Then True Voice caught something deeper. A sound beneath the physical roar. A thought. Open. I frowned. The Titan roared again. Open. Kavi looked at me. You hear it? Yes. What does it want? I don't know. That bothered him. People had grown accustomed to me knowing things. I had grown accustomed to it too. Power can create bad habits. The Titan reached the outer salt flats and stopped. Its enormous head lowered. Open below must open. I sent the thought back. What is below? The Titan froze. Its head turned toward me. For several seconds, I felt something ancient examining my mind. Then, you hear? Yes. Small keeper hears. I didn't like that phrase. What is a keeper? The Titan began walking again. Kavi lifted one hand. Behind us, Red Dune's battle formations activated. Wait. We cannot allow it closer. It isn't attacking. It is an extinction-class beast moving toward inhabited land. It wants something beneath the salt basin. Kavi's jaw tightened. Timo. I know. Do you? That annoyed me. He continued. You have spent months discovering that everyone else underestimated beasts. Do not make the opposite mistake and assume every beast is harmless because you can speak to it. That hit harder than I wanted, because he was right. I had begun treating communication as moral proof. Beasts lied. Beasts fought. Beasts killed. Understanding something did not make it safe. I reached through true voice again. Will you harm the humans here? The Titan answered after a long delay. Not if they do not stop me. That was not reassuring. Kavi heard my translation. Exactly. We argued for 10 minutes. Then the Titan solved the debate by reaching the edge of the sect's outer defensive range. The first barrier activated automatically. A wall of red spiritual light rose. The Titan touched it with its forehead. The barrier collapsed. Not dramatically. It simply stopped existing. 3 elders went silent. That formation was designed to stop an army. The Titan had barely noticed it. For months, I had been the impossible thing everyone else measured themselves against. Now I understood how that felt from the other side. My heaven script identified the creature. Species unknown. Level. Classification unavailable. Warning, local system limit exceeded. Local system limit. I stared at those words. That was the first crack in the world. Kavi ordered evacuation instead of attack. That decision probably saved hundreds of lives. He was not the enemy in this part of my story. That mattered. People can be wrong about something important without being wrong about everything. I left the wall with Kiri, Tamba, Sina, Maro, and Sorrow. Selma grabbed my sleeve. Where are you going? To ask it what it wants. You already did. I am going to ask from closer. That is somehow worse. She came anyway. The Titan ignored us until we reached the salt basin. Up close, its legs looked like pillars. Its eyes were blue-white. Ancient scars crossed its face. Sorrow began trembling. The Titan saw him. Sky Child. Sorrow answered. Guardian. I turned. You know each other. No, Sorrow said. Then after a pause, I remember knowing. That was not helpful. The Titan pressed one foot into the salt. The ground split. A straight line opened beneath the crust. Stone steps descended into darkness. No excavation. No visible entrance. The structure had been waiting. Red Dune had existed less than 30 kilometers away for centuries without knowing. We followed the Titan underground. Kavi joined us with 2 elders. The passage was enormous. Not human enormous. Titan enormous. The walls carried carvings of beasts walking beneath stars. Some were familiar. Others looked impossible. Winged serpents wrapped around moons. Turtles carrying forests. Herd animals walking across empty sky. I touched one carving. My heaven script flickered. External architecture detected. External. Another crack. We reached a circular chamber. At its center stood a black arch tall enough for the Titan. The Titan lowered its head. Open. I don't know how. You hear keeper opens. I am not a keeper. The Titan gave me the mental equivalent of patient disbelief. Sorrow walked forward. He stared at symbols carved around the arch. I have seen these. Where? In dreams. The old vulture spread one damaged wing. For years. My skin prickled. He described stars that did not exist. Roads hanging in darkness. Creatures migrating between lights. We had thought they were inherited images. Now the same shapes covered the walls. I approached the arch. My heaven script exploded. Legacy network detected. User possesses compatible communication authority. Local classification exceeded. Recalibrating. The chamber shook. My status disappeared. For one terrible second, I had nothing. Then new text appeared. Cradle range 417. Status isolated. Primary function, protected beast development habitat. I read it twice. Then again. Cavi stepped closer. What does it say? I told him. Nobody spoke. The Titan lowered itself to the floor. Not submissively. With relief. A map appeared above the arch. Our entire known region glowed as one small green circle. Then other circles appeared. Hundreds. Thousands. Some connected by luminous roads. My sect. Our cities. The Salt Basin. The Red Dunes. Every place I had ever considered the complete world was apparently one protected habitat among thousands. Then my cultivation status returned. Local realm spirit crown. World classification, foundation tier. I laughed. I could not help it. Cavi looked offended. What? I spent 6 months becoming a legend. Yes. Apparently, I am a beginner. Kiri looked at the map. Are there other jackals? Probably. Do they have food? Almost certainly. Then this is excellent news. The arch opened. There was no explosion. No thunder. Darkness simply became depth. Beyond it stretched a road made from pale light. Not across land. Across stars. Massive shapes moved in the distance. One looked like a whale swimming through darkness. Another carried structures on its back. Something with wings larger than Red Dune's entire valley crossed from one glowing path to another. Sorrow stepped beside me. His old body shook. I remember this place. My local supremacy did not disappear. Nothing had been taken from me. I was still stronger than almost everyone I knew. The White Dune Titan was still real. My achievements were still real. The difference was worse. The world was bigger. Much bigger. And somewhere beyond the gate, something noticed that Cradle Range 417 had turned its lights back on. Her name was Asha. She arrived 3 days after we opened the gate. She rode a creature that made Red Dune's best flying beasts look painfully ordinary. The animal resembled a long-legged black antelope, with translucent fins running along its sides. It stepped through the gate, then stepped onto empty air, then onto the ground. My heaven script identified it immediately. Species Rift Grazer. World Tier 3. Level 684. I nearly choked. Kiri noticed. You made a face. Do you remember when I reached level 100? Yes. I was proud. You talked about it for 2 days. That animal is level 684. Kiri stared at the Rift Grazer. Then mentally asked me, can I bite it? No. How will we know who is stronger? We already know. Asha dismounted. She looked about 25, though I later learned that wider world age comparisons were complicated. Her clothing was still recognizably pre-technological. Layered cloth, leather, bone clasps, spirit metal bands. But the materials carried so much condensed energy that one sleeve was probably worth more than our main sect hall. She looked at the White Dune Titan, then at the reopened arch, then at us. Finally she said, which one of you activated the cradle? Cavi pointed at me. I considered this betrayal. Asha looked me over. You. Yes. You are young. I've been told. What is your keeper rank? My what? She frowned. Then her eyes unfocused slightly. Her own interface, presumably. Oh, that was not a comforting sound. What? This cradle has been isolated for 1,812 standard cycles. Cavi's face went still. Our own historical records did not even extend that far reliably. Asha looked around. You genuinely do not know what this place is. No. She sighed. Then I have paperwork. That was my first introduction to the wider universe. Not cosmic enlightenment. Paperwork. Apparently, enormous magical civilizations had discovered bureaucracy too. Some truths were universal. Asha spent 2 days explaining the basics. Cradle ranges were protected development worlds. Low-energy environments. Stable ecosystems. Places where young magical species could breed without being consumed, enslaved, or displaced by stronger creatures. Keeper orders once maintained them. Our sect founder, Narrow of the Red Dune, had not been a supreme beast sovereign. He had been an assistant habitat keeper. Cavi took that information personally. He founded the strongest beast tradition in this region. Yes, Asha said. He was apparently responsible for juvenile hoof species. Kiri nearly fell over laughing through our bond. I felt bad for Cavi. Not enough to stop smiling. Asha also explained that cradle ranges were not supposed to reconnect without an inspection. The white dune titan was a dormant guardian species. Its awakening meant the local protective network had fallen below safe levels. That was why it had opened the way station. Then she inspected me. My bonds fascinated her. Not because voluntary contracts were unknown. They weren't. The wider world had dozens of bond philosophies. What interested her was true voice. She brought me to the gate chamber and released a small silver creature from a pouch. It had 6 wings and no visible eyes. What is it? I asked. Tell me. I used true voice. The creature immediately thought. Cold, angry, want dark. I repeated that. Asha stopped moving. What else? It doesn't like the light in here. She reduced the lamps. The creature relaxed. Asha stared at me. What language did you use? None. What translation frame? None. Species pattern. I don't know what that means. She took a slow breath. Timo, speak to my rift grazer. I did. The great black creature turned its head. Your rider asks too many questions, it told me. I looked at Asha. It says you ask too many questions. Her expression became suspicious. That could be inference. The grazer continued. She snores when crossing long roads. I smiled. Asha's face changed. What? Nothing. Tell me. Your beast says you snore. The rift grazer sent me an image of Asha asleep against its neck, mouth open. I failed to remain professional. Asha closed her eyes. My bond does not translate private sensory memory. Apparently mine does. For the first time, she looked at me the way Red Dune elders had started looking at me months earlier. Recalculation. Universal beast speech, she whispered. I had never heard the phrase. She had. According to Asha, some ancient keeper lineages could communicate across species without learning individual mind patterns. The ability was exceptionally rare. The last confirmed speaker in her region had disappeared more than 400 years earlier. So yes, I was a beginner. But apparently, I was a strange beginner. That felt better. My first trip beyond the cradle lasted 6 hours. Asha took me onto the Great Beast Road. I brought Kiri in sorrow. Kavi objected. Selma objected louder. Tamba objected because he also wanted to come. The gate limit allowed only 3 unsanctioned travelers. Kiri won because refusing to bring him would have caused problems. Sorrow came because the road was connected to his ancestral memories. I stepped through. For most of my life, the farthest I had traveled was 6 days by Sandrunner. The Great Beast Road made distance meaningless. Paths of pale energy stretched through darkness. Way stations floated at intersections. Some were carved from stone. Others grew from living trees. Others rested on the shells of beasts so huge, I initially mistook them for islands. Travelers passed us. Humans. Near humans. Creatures I could not classify. Some rode bonded beasts. Some walked. One enormous feline creature wore packs and appeared to be transporting 3 humans. Kiri stared. Are those its pets? I don't know. Ask. No. Coward. We stopped at a station built around a crystal outcrop. That was where I discovered being useful felt better than being impressive. A Shaz organization was treating an injured spirit beast. It resembled a blue-scaled horse with 4 forelegs. 3 handlers surrounded it. The animal kept striking at them. One handler had already been thrown across the platform. A Shaz said its translation bond failed during transit. I heard the beast immediately. Stop touching left side. I stepped closer. A handler blocked me. Foundation tier visitors stay back. A Shaz started to speak. I raised a hand. Your patient says stop touching its left side. The handler stared. We haven't touched. The beast screamed mentally. You are touching now. A healer's scanning field was passing through its left flank. I pointed. That. They stopped. The beast relaxed slightly. I moved closer. Where does it hurt? Right side. Then why complain about the left? Because left makes right hurt. That sounded absurd. Selma would have understood it immediately. Compensating injury. I asked the healers to examine the right shoulder. They found a cracked internal spirit plate. The station went quiet. The senior handler looked at a Shaz. Then at me. What keeper rank? None. He frowned. Kiri sat beside me. Tell him you are level 100. That means nothing here. It meant something yesterday. That was exactly the emotional problem. At home, I had become impossible. Here I was foundation tier. Yet when the injured beast lowered its head and touched its nose against my shoulder, every handler on that platform watched. I understood then that entering the ocean did not mean becoming ordinary. It meant discovering which parts of me had actually mattered all along. The migration beacon activated the following morning. A Shaz saw it before I did. She was speaking with Kavi in the gate chamber when every symbol around the arch turned silver. Her face changed. What? She did not answer. She opened a map. A wide glowing band appeared beyond our cradle. Then another. Then thousands of moving lights. A Shaz swore. Kavi looked at me. I translated the expression. That is bad. Very. The ancient cradle system had reconnected automatically. That meant it had announced its existence to the great beast roads. Normally, a restored habitat would receive a protected navigation boundary. Ours had a broken beacon. Instead of telling migrating creatures to travel around cradle range 417, it was broadcasting an outdated route marker directly through us. The migration approaching was called a moonback herd. I imagined giant antelope. That was adorable. Asha showed me an image. The smallest adults were almost 1 kilometer long. They migrated in groups numbering thousands. They did not attack worlds. They barely noticed them. The spiritual wake of a full herd could strip active ley currents, alter weather patterns, trigger uncontrolled beast evolutions, and flatten structures near root intersections. How long? I asked. 8 days. Cavi said nothing for several seconds. Then can they be stopped? No. Diverted? Yes. Relief hit me. Asha continued. If the beacon works. It did not. The main communication array had been damaged centuries ago. To repair it, someone needed to reactivate 3-way stations positioned outside our cradle and synchronize them with a recognized migration speaker. Asha could handle the stations. She could not communicate directly with moonbacks at migration range. Their minds were too large for standard translation bonds. Everyone looked at me. I hated when that happened. No. Asha raised an eyebrow. No what? I recognized that expression. What expression? The Timo can probably do it expression. Kiri mentally said, you usually can. You are not helping. The next 4 days were the hardest since my power began accelerating. Not because I fought anyone. Because the great beast roads did not care that I was locally exceptional. Everything required new knowledge. Distance worked differently. Spirit density changed between pathways. My herd speaker skills reached farther than Asha expected, but became unstable. Shared sense nearly blinded me when I connected to sorrow while crossing a bright rift channel. I made mistakes. On the second day, I tried linking to 12 unfamiliar road beasts simultaneously. I woke up 6 minutes later with my face on a stone floor. Asha stood over me. What did you learn? That I am brilliant. You fainted. Temporarily. Kiri pushed his nose against my cheek. You looked dead. Thank you. I considered eating your ration. Of course. My interface revealed the real limitation. True voice cognitive load exceeded. Recommendation, hierarchical command structure. Then a class evolution appeared. Herd speaker right arrow beast sovereign. I opened the details. My breath caught. It was powerful. Far more powerful than anything I had been offered before. Beast Sovereign would let me impose layered mental authority over hundreds of creatures. Lower minds would feed information upward. I would issue intent. Subordinate leaders would distribute commands. Cognitive load reduced by 82%. Effective bond range multiplied. Command resistance decreased. It was almost perfectly designed for the moonback problem. Asha found me staring at the prompt. What is it? I told her. She thought for a moment. That would work. I looked at her. You don't sound happy. It would solve the immediate problem. But you built your entire progression around reciprocal bonds. Beast Sovereign doesn't remove them. No, it places you above them. That night I returned home. Not because I needed rest. Because I needed Selma. She was in the discard yard treating a young sandrunner. The yard had changed. Only 3 months earlier, it had been where unwanted beasts waited to disappear. Now disciples visited constantly. Observation notes covered the walls. Animals had choice areas. Migration enclosures. Different feeding patterns. It was still imperfect. But it was alive. Selma listened while I explained the class evolution. When I finished, she asked, "Do you want it?" Yes. I hated the answer. She nodded. Then why haven't you taken it? Because it feels like Cavi's way. That's not a reason. I stared. She continued. Elder Cavi was wrong because he believed control was always the answer. If you believe control is never the answer simply because Cavi used it, then you are still letting his beliefs decide yours. That irritated me, mostly because it was good advice. What would you do? I am not the one hearing a moonback herd. Helpful. She sat beside me. You keep talking about beasts as if they are automatically noble because humans mistreated them. I don't. You do. I opened my mouth. Closed it. She was right again. Very annoying woman. What matters, she said, is whether the creatures joining you understand what you are asking and can refuse. That stayed with me. I went to Kiri first. I showed him the class. He did not understand every technical detail. He understood enough. Would you stay? He thought for a long time. If you make me obey. Yes. No. Simple. Tamba's answer was the same. Sina's. Morrow's. Sorrow's answer hurt most. Your father controlled me once. I looked at him. What? He was young, frightened. We fought. He used domination pressure. I had never known. What happened? He apologized. When? Years before you were born. Why tell me now? Because good people can choose badly when afraid. Sorrow lowered his head. You are afraid. Yes. I was. 8 days. An impossible herd. My home directly in its path. And a class evolution that could make everything easier. I declined Beast Sovereign. The interface disappeared. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then True Voice changed. Dominance evolution rejected. Alternative conditions satisfied. Class path available, open chorus. I opened it. My heartbeat accelerated. No central domination. No compulsory hierarchy. Instead, each bonded mind could voluntarily carry part of the communication load. Information would travel across participants. Not everything through me. A distributed network. Less efficient in perfect conditions. Far more scalable if enough minds cooperated. The cost was obvious. Every participant had to consent. Every relay could leave. The network would only be as strong as the trust between its members. I laughed. Selma looked at me. What? I found the harder option. That sounds like you. I accepted. My class became Open Chorus Keeper. Then another line appeared. True Voice Evolution available. World Voice dormant. Requirement: establish voluntary chorus exceeding 1,000 minds. I stared. 1,000. Then I looked across the discard yard. At beasts speaking. Humans watching. Kiri stealing food. Sorrow sleeping. Everything I had built by refusing to make one injured oryx kneel. For the first time, I understood how we might survive. Not because I could speak to the moonbacks. Because I did not have to speak alone. We had 41 hours when the first moonback signal reached us. You might imagine a roar. It wasn't. It was pressure. Every beast in cradle range, 417, stopped at once. Predators lifted their heads. Birds went silent. Herd animals turned west. I felt a distant consciousness brush the edge of True Voice. Then another. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The moonbacks were still beyond visual range. My knees weakened. A shag caught my shoulder. That is only the front of the herd. Wonderful. You wanted the ocean. I wanted a slightly smaller ocean. The plan had 6 parts. That was 5 more than I preferred. A Sha would reactivate the outer navigation markers. Cavi would coordinate Red Dune's cultivators to stabilize the local ley network. Selma would organize beast handlers across the region and explain the one rule that mattered. Nothing was compulsory. If an animal did not want to join the chorus, leave it alone. Tamba would anchor the Earth current network. Sina would connect aerial species. Sara would follow ancestral root memories. Kiri would handle ground relays. I would connect everything. At least that was the theory. Reality was louder. The first chorus attempt reached 284 minds before collapsing. Too many emotional signals. Fear from prey animals. Excitement from predators. Confusion from domesticated beasts suddenly hearing unfamiliar minds. Kiri chased a relay lizard. The entire network received his hunting excitement. 17 animals panicked. I disconnected him. That was unfair. You tried to eat part of the communication system. It ran. The system is made of animals. Poor design. Second attempt. 517 minds. Better. Then a thunderbird refused to cooperate with a sand crane it considered socially inferior. The argument propagated across the chorus. Asha stared at me. What is happening? Bird politics. Can you fix it? I have defeated Spirit Crown elders. I cannot fix bird politics. We separated the roots. Third attempt. 806 minds. Then Morrow fell asleep. Because he was old. And warm. And did not care that the world was ending. Half the western ground relay disappeared. I woke him. He became offended. Emergency, I told him. I am elderly. The moonbacks are coming. Then wake me when they arrive. I understood why Kiri liked him. The fourth attempt passed 1,000. My interface flashed. Open chorus established. World voice unlocked. The change nearly tore my awareness apart. True voice had always felt intimate. One mind to another. World voice felt like standing in the center of an enormous dark plane, where every living consciousness carried a lantern. I could not hear every thought. That would have destroyed me. Instead, I sensed patterns. Fear moving through herds. Warning calls spreading between species. Migration instincts. Territorial boundaries. Pain. Hunger. Curiosity. For the first time, I understood why my ability had such a grand name. I had not been given the power to command beasts. I had been given access to a civilization nobody around me knew existed. A civilization without cities. Without writing. Without a single species. Conversation carried through life itself. The moonbacks arrived at the outer markers 6 hours later. We saw them from the high ridge. The horizon brightened silver. Then the first moonback emerged from the rift path. It was so large my brain refused to interpret the scale correctly. 4 vast legs. A curved back covered in luminous white plates. Long branching horns trailing spirit mist. Then another appeared. And another. Hundreds. Behind them, thousands more. Cavi stood beside me. Months earlier, I had considered him almost impossibly powerful. Now both of us were staring at something that could probably step on Red Dune without noticing. He said quietly, I believe this is the part where you tell me listening is stronger than command. I looked at him. Were you preparing that line? For 20 minutes. That is embarrassing. Yes. Then the outer beacon failed. The first marker flickered. A Shah's voice came through Sorrow's relay. Western Station lost synchronization. The herd continued straight toward us. My interface calculated impact. Estimated cradle intersection, 19 minutes. Cavi's face tightened. Can you contact them? I can try. I opened World Voice. The chorus expanded. 1,400 minds. 2,000. Then 3,700 as wild species joined. Signals passed outward. Small birds to larger birds. Ground beasts to migrating antelope. Antelope to spirit grazers. Spirit grazers to road creatures. The message moved farther than I could have sent it alone. Stop. No. That was a command. I changed it. Danger ahead. No response. The moonbacks kept coming. I pushed harder. Our cradle is on your route. Still nothing. Then something touched my mind. The pressure was immense. Not hostile. Merely large. A thought from one moonback felt like standing beneath storm clouds. Then another joined it. They were not ignoring me. I was speaking too quickly. Their perception of time was different. I slowed the chorus. Sorrow understood first. His ancient memories shifted the rhythm. Long pulses. Wide pauses. Like migration calls across enormous distances. I sent again. Small habitat. Wrong path. Life below. Please turn. The response arrived. Marker says path open. The voice did not sound like words. World Voice translated meaning. I answered. Marker broken. A pause that lasted almost 1 minute. The moonback consciousness examined us. Thousands of connected minds. The tiny cradle. The broken root. Then, who speaks? I hesitated. Timo Shikongo sounded absurd. Still, it was my name. Timo. The moonback considered that. Keeper. No. Another long pause. Then Kiri pushed himself into the chorus. He provides food. I almost lost concentration. The moonback's enormous mind shifted. Something like amusement moved through it. I felt thousands of smaller chorus members react. You are not helping, I told Kiri. I am building trust. The moonback asked. Why road broken? Isolation. Why open now? I looked at the white dune titan beside the gate. Guardian woke. The moonback understood. Its memory contained cradle ranges. Protected young. Safe breeding worlds. Old roots. Our world was not insignificant to it. It was familiar. A nursery remembered from long ago. Then the herd began turning. Not quickly. Creatures that size did nothing quickly. But the route shifted. 1 degree. 2. 5. The silver migration band curved around our cradle. The spiritual pressure changed. Wind exploded across the salt flats. Clouds formed from nowhere. Red Dune's formations bent. But held. The first moonback passed beyond us. Then the second. Thousands followed. Cradle range 417 remained intact. I stayed connected for 3 hours until the last adults passed. Then smaller moonbacks appeared. Juveniles. Only a few hundred meters long. That sentence still sounds ridiculous. One young mind noticed our chorus. It sent me a simple thought. Small keeper. I almost corrected it. Then decided I was too tired. The herd vanished into the great beast road. The sky darkened. The chorus gradually released. 3,700 minds became 2,000. Then 600. Then my original bonds. Kiri, Tamba, Sina, Maro, Sorrow. I collapsed onto the salt. Selma found me there. She sat beside me. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You smell terrible." I just redirected a cosmic migration. "You still smell terrible." I laughed. My interface appeared. World-scale communication completed. Level increased. Class advanced. Open Chorus Keeper Right Arrow World Herd Tamer. World Level 4. I stared. Asha had explained world levels. Foundation tier began at world level 1. Experienced road tamers might reach 20. Regional masters could exceed 100. I was still tiny. Yet another notification appeared. Unique designation recorded. Universal Beast Speaker. Asha later told me only 12 living people in the connected roads held equivalent classifications. 12. Not 12 in Red Dune. Not 12 in our region. 12 across the network her civilization knew. I looked at Kiri. He was eating something. Is that my emergency ration? No. Kiri. I found it. Something survived every scale increase. Elder Kavi lost leadership of the Beast Command Hall 6 weeks later. I did not demand it. That is important. When I was younger, I imagined vindication would feel like watching someone who hurt me suffer. It didn't. The satisfying part was watching their authority stop defining my life. Kavi stepped down because Red Dune's Elder Council decided Beast Command needed restructuring. Too many disciples wanted voluntary contract training. Too many old methods had produced stalled bloodlines. Too many supposedly weak animals had evolved once their natural behavior was restored. And too many people had watched thousands of beasts voluntarily join the Moonback Chorus. You cannot easily argue that obedience is the only basis for cooperation after that. Kavi remained an elder. He also began studying consent-based contracts. Badly. I caught him one morning, standing beside a thunder lizard. The beast looked furious. "What is wrong?" Kavi asked me. I listened. "He wants you to stop starring." Kavi looked away. I listened again. "He also wants the red fruit in your pocket." Kavi handed it over. The thunder lizard ate it. Kavi sighed. "This is inefficient." "Yes." He glanced at me. "You enjoy this." "Immensely." That was enough revenge for me. The bigger consequence came from his own beasts. 3 refused to renew their dominance contracts when they expired. 1 stayed. Voluntarily. That surprised everyone, including Kavi. His oldest war hyena chose him. Not because it had been forced. Because after 16 years, apparently it actually liked the miserable man. Kavi did not tell anyone how much that affected him. He didn't need to. I heard the hyena. The discard yard received a new name. I hated it. They called it the Conquered Sanctuary. Selma said that sounded prestigious. I said it sounded like somewhere people gave speeches. She became its head keeper anyway. Instead of disposing of stalled beasts, Red Dune sent difficult cases there for behavioral evaluation. The first rule was written above the entrance. Observe before commanding. Kiri urinated on the sign. Selma blamed me. I maintained that this was unfair. Sorrow recovered more than anyone expected after contact with the great beast roads. His old bloodline awakened. His damaged wing never fully healed, but he no longer cared. He had spent most of his life thinking his dreams were nonsense. Now he knew they were memories. Tamba became obsessed with maps of other cradle ranges. Every map, every road, every Earth current network. His vocabulary expanded too. Instead of simply saying north, he now occasionally said far north. Progress. Sina began carrying messages between Red Dune and nearby beast communities. Morrow remained committed to sleep. The White Dune Titan returned to dormancy beneath the salt basin after the local protective network stabilized. Before sleeping, it called me Keeper again. I corrected it. It ignored me. Asha stayed for 2 months. Officially, she was overseeing cradle reintegration. Unofficially, she spent half that time studying me. We argued constantly. She believed I was reckless. I believed she was overcautious. She had 20 years of great road experience. I had recently learned that worlds could have traffic signs. She was probably right more often. I never admitted that. The most difficult conversation happened 3 days before she left. We stood on the ridge above Red Dune. The dunes stretch west. The same view I had known since childhood. Once it had looked endless. Now I knew there were paths beyond the sky. Asha said, "Come with me." I pretended not to understand. Where? The great roads. For an inspection. For training. I looked at her. She continued. My order wants to examine universal beast speech. That sounds unpleasant. It probably will be. Excellent sales technique. You need access to higher density regions if you want to progress. I looked back at the sect. I had reached level 138 by local measurements. Spirit Crown Masters, who once terrified me, now asked for advice. There was almost nothing in our region that could force me to grow through danger. I could stay, become an elder, eventually sect master, protect Red Dune, teach, be admired, be safe. That tempted me more than I expected. When I first failed Cavi's examination, all I wanted was enough power that nobody could control my future. I had it. No elder could order me now. No contract could take Kiri. No sect rule could send sorrow away. I had one. So why leave? Selma answered that before I asked her. You'll become unbearable. I am already unbearable. Worse. How? You'll spend 10 years pretending you don't care what is beyond the gate, while asking every traveler approximately 600 questions. That is possible. She smiled. You should go. I looked at her. You're staying. Yes. That hurt more than I expected. We had gone through everything together. The discard yard, Kiri's evolution, Tamba's migration, the Titan, the Moonbacks. Some selfish part of me had assumed that if I went, everyone important would come. Selma saw it. This is my ocean, she said. She gestured toward the sanctuary. I don't need yours. That was another thing power had not prepared me for. People could love you and still want a different life. I nodded. Will you message? Asha says the way stations can carry bonded pulses. Then yes. Good. She hugged me. Quickly. Then stepped back before I could turn it into a bigger moment than either of us knew how to handle. Kiri watched. Humans are strange. Quiet. The morning I left, half the sect gathered at the gate. I hated that. I had spent years wanting people to notice me. Once they did, I discovered crowds were exhausting. Cavi stood near the arch. He held out a small bronze object. My old examination badge. The one marked failed. I stared at it. You kept this. It was in the records. Why give it back? Kavi looked toward Kiri. Then Tamba. Then Sorrow. You were correct about the stonehorn. The injured one. Yes. What happened to him? Recovered, voluntarily bonded to a healer. I smiled. Kavi continued. I was wrong to fail you for refusing that command. That was not what I expected. He seemed uncomfortable. Good. I took the badge. You were wrong about several things. His eyes narrowed. Do not ruin the moment. I laughed. Then he bowed. Not elder to disciple. Tamer to tamer. I returned it. A Shah activated the gate. The great beast road opened. Sorrow stood on my left. Kiri on my right. Tamba behind us. Sina circled overhead. Morrow had refused to come. His exact words were, "Too much travel." Fair. I looked back at the red dunes. At the sect walls. At the discard yard where a failed disciple had first asked a disobedient jackal what he actually wanted. I remembered being level 3. I remembered Kavi's aura making my legs shake. I remembered thinking spirit crown cultivators were almost divine. Then I looked through the gate. A creature larger than a city moved between stars. A Shah waited beside her level 684 rift grazer. Beyond her stretched roads leading to thousands of worlds. My heaven script opened. Name Timo Shikongo. Class World Herd Tamer. World Level 4. Unique trait, Universal Beast Speaker. Known Cradle Rank, Exceptional. Great Road Rank, Beginner. Kiri looked up at me. Food. We ate before leaving. That was home food. What does that mean? We need road food. I started walking. For most of my life, I thought the strongest beast tamer was the person who could force the greatest monster to kneel. Then I became stronger than everyone who had taught me that. After that, I discovered creatures so vast they could cross my entire homeland without realizing humans lived there. And somehow that made the answer simpler. Power was never convincing something smaller to obey me. Real power was reaching something enormous enough to ignore me completely, and still finding a way to make it listen.